Emenike was a kind and handsome man in his early 20s. He lived in the village of Ndiobo in the eastern part of Nigeria. One evening, he decided to go and cut palm fronds. As he walked along the village path, he hummed a song, feeling happy. The sun was setting, and the sky was painted in beautiful shades of orange and pink. The birds were chirping, and the air was cool and fresh. Suddenly, Emenike heard a strange sound. It was the cry of a little baby coming from the bush. He stopped and listened carefully. At first, he thought he should keep moving and mind his own business. But something inside him told him to check it out. His heart wouldn't let him ignore the cry. So he turned around and walked into the bush, following the sound. As he walked deeper into the bush, the cries became louder. Emenike felt his heart beat faster. He finally reached the spot where the cries were coming from. There, under a tree, he saw a basket. Inside the basket was a newborn baby, wrapped in a soft cloth. The baby had a bracelet on her wrist. On the bracelet, her name and date of birth were written. Her name was Onyinyechi, which means God's gift. Emenike bent down and gently picked up the baby. He looked around to see if the baby's mother was nearby, but there was no one. The baby stopped crying and looked up at him with big, curious eyes. Emenike felt a strange connection to the baby. He knew he couldn't leave her there alone. Who could leave such a precious gift in the bush? Emenike whispered to himself. He decided to take the baby home. As he walked back to the village, he cradled Onyinyechi in his arms. The baby cooed softly and snuggled against his chest. Emenike felt a sense of peace and purpose. When he reached his house, his family was surprised to see him with a baby. His father, mother, and elder sister gathered around him. Their faces full of questions. Emenike, where did you find this baby? His father asked, frowning. I found her in the bush. Emenike replied. She was all alone in a basket. Her name is Onyinyechi. It was written on her bracelet. His mother shook her head. This is not good, Emenike. You should take her back. What if she brings bad luck to our family? Emenike looked at the baby in his arms. Mama, she's just a baby. How can she bring bad luck? She needs our help. His elder sister, Nneka, stepped forward. Emenike, Mama is right. What if something bad happens because of her? We don't know where she came from. Emenike's eyes flashed with determination. I don't believe in such superstitions. Onyinyechi is a gift from God. She deserves a chance to live a good life. I will take care of her. Her father sighed and looked at him sternly. Son, you are young and full of good intentions. But this is a big responsibility. Are you sure you are ready for this? Emenike nodded firmly. Yes, Papa. I will do everything I can to take care of her. She will grow up to be a great child. Seeing his determination, his mother softened a little. All right, Emenike. If you are sure, then we will support you. But you must be prepared for the challenges. Emenike smiled and looked at Onyinyechi. Thank you, Mama. I know it won't be easy, but I believe in her. She is special. Emenike took care of Onyinyechi and made sure she lacked nothing at all. From the moment he found her, he dedicated his life to making sure she was happy and healthy. Every day, he worked hard in the field, cutting palm fronds and doing other jobs to earn money. He bought clothes, food, and everything Onyinyechi needed. He even made toys for her, and she loved playing with them. As the months went by, Onyinyechi began to grow. She started to recognize Emenike and would smile whenever she saw him. Her first words was, Papa, which made Emenike's heart swell with pride and joy. He had become her father in every way that mattered. One day, Emenike sat down with his family to discuss Onyinyechi's future. I want Onyinyechi to have a good education, he said. She deserves the best, just like any other child. His father nodded. You are right, Emenike. Education is important, but how will you manage it? Emenike thought for a moment. I will find a way. I will work harder and save money. I also want to go back to school and learn. His mother looked concerned. That will be difficult, Emenike. You already work so hard. How will you balance everything? I will make it work, Mama. Onyinyechi deserves the best. I will not let her down. Emenike said firmly. With his family's support, Emenike enrolled Onyinyechi in a nearby nursery school. Every morning, he would wake up early to get her ready for school. He dressed her in a clean uniform and packed her lunch. He walked her to school, holding her tiny hand in his. Onyinyechi loved school and was always excited to go. Emenike also enrolled himself in evening classes. He wanted to finish his education so he could provide a better life for Onyinyechi. Every day was a challenge, but he faced it with determination and love. After work in the field all day, he would go to his classes in the evening. He studied hard and did his best to learn as much as he could. Weekends were special for Emenike and Onyinyechi. Emenike made sure to come home every weekend, no matter how tired he was. They spent the weekends together, playing, reading, and enjoying each other's company. Onyinyechi loved this moment with her father. One sunny Saturday, Emenike and Onyinyechi were sitting under a tree in their yard. Onyinyechi was reading a book while Emenike watched her with pride. Papa, look, I can read this word. Onyinyechi said, pointing to a word in her book. That's wonderful, Onyi. You are doing so well. Emenike said, smiling. Thank you, Papa. I love reading. I want to learn everything. Onyinyechi said with enthusiasm. And you will, my dear. You can do anything you set your mind to. Emenike said, hugging her. Years passed, and Emenike's hard work paid off. He finished his education and earned a degree. His family was proud of him, and so was Onyinyechi. She had grown into a smart and kind-hearted girl who loved her papa dearly. One day, Emenike received a letter from a company in the city. They offered him a job with a good salary. He was excited, but also a little worried. He knew this was a great opportunity, but it meant moving to the city. He sat down with his family to discuss the news. I have been offered a job in the city, he said. It's a great opportunity for us, but it means we will have to move. His father nodded. This is a good opportunity, Emenike. You should take it. But what about Onyinyechi? Will she be okay in the city? His mother asked. I believe she will. The city has good schools, and she will have more opportunities, Emenike said. His sister Nneka smiled. Oni is a strong girl. She will do well, and you will be there to support her. Emenike looked at Onyinyechi, who was playing nearby. He called her over. Oni, come here. I have something to tell you. Onyinyechi ran over and sat on his lap. What is it, Papa? We have been offered a chance to move to the city. I have a new job there, Emenike said gently. The city? Really, Papa? Onyinyechi's eyes lit up with excitement. Yes, Oni. It will be a big change, but I think it will be good for us, Emenike said. I trust you, Papa. I know you will take care of us, Onyinyechi said, hugging him. With Onyinyechi's encouragement and his family's support, Emenike decided to take the job. They packed their belongings and prepared to move to the city. It was a bittersweet moment as they said goodbye to their village and the people they loved. The journey to the city was long, but Emenike and Onyinyechi were excited about their new adventure. When they arrived, they were amazed by the tall buildings, the busy streets, and the many people. It was so different from their village. Emenike found a small apartment for them. He set up their new home, making sure Onyinyechi was comfortable. He enrolled her in a good school and started his new job. Every morning, he walked out to school before heading to work. Life in the city was busy, but Emenike and Onyinyechi adjusted quickly. They made new friends and explored their new surroundings. Emenike worked hard at his job, and Onyinyechi excelled in her studies. One evening, after a long day at work, Emenike sat down with Onyinyechi. How was school today, Oni? He asked. It was great, Papa. I made a new friend, and we learned about animals, Onyinyechi said excitedly. That's wonderful, Oni. I'm so proud of you, Emenike said, smiling. Thank you, Papa. And how was your day? Onyinyechi asked. It was good. I'm learning a lot at my new job. I'm doing this for us, Oni. I want to give you the best life possible, Emenike said. You already do, Papa. I love you, Onyinyechi said, hugging him tightly. I love you too, Oni, Emenike said, feeling grateful for the blessing that Onyinyechi was in his life. And so, Emenike and Onyinyechi began their life in the city. They faced challenges and made sacrifices, but their love and determination saw them through. Together, they built a bright and happy future, always supporting and caring for each other. Emenike and Onyinyechi, whom Emenike lovingly called Oni, lived together happily in the city. Emenike worked very hard and Oni studied just as hard. Emenike's dedication to his job paid off, and soon he became very rich. He built a big house for himself and Oni in the city. It was a beautiful house with large rooms, a big garden, and a view of the city skyline. The house was filled with love and laughter. Emenike didn't forget his roots. He built a big house for his parents in the village of Unveiled. They were proud of their son's success and grateful for his generosity. His sister Nneka also got married and moved to her own home, starting a family of her own. Oni grew up into a beautiful young woman. She was smart, kind, and full of life. She excelled in her studies and made her father proud. When the time came, she went to the university to further her education. She studied hard and made many friends. She returned home occasionally during holidays and weekends to spend time with Emenike. One sunny Saturday, Oni came home for the weekend. She entered the house, smelling the delicious aroma of food cooking. She knew exactly where to find her father. She walked into the kitchen and saw Emenike standing by the stove, stirring a pot. Papa, I'm home, Oni called out cheerfully. Emenike turned around and smiled warmly. Oni, welcome home. How was your journey? It was fine, Papa. I missed you, Oni said, giving him a hug. I missed you too, my dear. I made your favorite dish, jollof rice, Emenike said, smiling. Oni laughed. Papa, you are the best chef in the world. Emenike chuckled. Well, I try my best. Now, go wash up and get ready for dinner. Oni went to her room to freshen up. She looked around, feeling grateful for the home her father had built for them. It was filled with memories and love. After washing up, she joined Emenike at the dining table. The table was set beautifully, and the food smelled amazing. As they ate, Oni couldn't help but tease her father. Papa, you should open a restaurant. Your cooking is too good to keep to yourself. Emenike laughed. Maybe one day, Oni. For now, I'm happy cooking for you. After dinner, they sat together in the living room. Emenike brought out a photo album and they started looking through old pictures. Oni loved this moment with her father. She enjoyed hearing stories about her childhood and their life in the village. Papa, tell me more about when I was a baby, Oni said, smiling. Well, you are the cutest baby ever, Emenike began. You love to play with your toys and you always had a big smile on your face. You were my little sunshine. Oni laughed. And you were my hero, Papa. You still are. Emenike hugged her. and you will always be my precious Oni. As the night went on, Oni's mind drifted to a question that had been on her mind for a long time. She looked at Emenike, who was now focused on the photo album. Papa, can I ask you something? Oni said hesitantly. Of course, Oni. You can ask me anything. Emenike replied, looking at her. I have been thinking a lot about my mother. You never talked about her. Can you tell me more about her? Oni asked gently. Emenike's face grew serious. He sighed and looked away. Oni, it's a complicated story. I promise I will tell you, but not now. It's not the right time. Oni felt a pound of disappointment but nodded. Okay, Papa, I trust you. This turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Every time Oni asked about her mother, Emenike always come up with different excuses. Not now, Oni, soon, he would say. Oni respected his wishes, but the curiosity and longing in her heart grew stronger. One weekend, Oni came home from the university and found Emenike in the garden, tending to the flowers. She approached him and greeted him warmly. Papa, the garden looks beautiful. Thank you, Oni. I find peace in taking care of it, Emenike said, wiping the sweat from his forehead. They sat together on a bench in the garden, enjoying the cool breeze. Oni decided to try asking again. Papa, about my mother. Emenike looked at her with a gentle smile. Oni, I know you are curious, and you have every right to be. I promise I will tell you everything when the time is right. But where will that be, Papa? Oni asked gently. Trust me, Oni. You will know soon. For now, let's enjoy our time together, Emenike said, taking her hand. Oni nodded, though her heart ached with unanswered questions. She loved her father deeply and didn't want to push him too hard. She knew he had his reasons and believed in his promise. One day, during a holiday, Oni returned home and found Emenike in the kitchen preparing a special meal. She greeted him and they shared a warm hug. As they sat down for dinner, Oni couldn't help but admire how much Emenike did for her. Papa, you're amazing. You do everything for me. Thank you, Oni said sincerely. Emenike smiled. It's my duty and my joy, Oni. You're my world. After dinner, they sat in the living room and Oni decided to ask once more. Papa, I know it's hard, but I really want to know about my mother. Emenike sighed. He looked into Oni's eyes, seeing the determination and love in them. All right, Oni, I think it's time you know the truth, but please be patient with me. It's not an easy story to tell. Oni nodded, her heart pounding with anticipation. She was finally going to learn about the woman who brought her into the world. She held Emenike's hand tightly, ready to listen and understand. Your mother was a very special person, Oni, Emenike began, his voice trembling slightly. She was kind, loving, and full of life. We had a brief but beautiful time together. When you were born, she gave you the name Onyinyechi because you were a gift from God to us. Emenike paused, gathering his thoughts, but something happened. We were separated. It's a painful memory for me, and I wanted to protect you from that pain, but you deserve to know the truth. Oni listened intently, her eyes wide with curiosity and emotion. She felt a mix of sadness and gratitude, knowing how much her father had sacrificed for her. As Emenike continued to speak, he promised to share more details when the time was right. Oni hugged him tightly, feeling a sense of closeness and understanding that she had longed for. She knew that whatever the story was, they would face it together, just as they always had. As time went by, Emenike found himself in his late 30s. He was still unmarried and showed no interest in settling down. He focused all his attention on taking care of Oni and his work. His success in the city continued to grow, and he remained dedicated to providing the best life possible for Oni. However, his mother, Emenike, was growing increasingly worried. Every time she visited, she would bring up the topic of marriage. She couldn't understand why her son, who was kind, handsome, and successful, wasn't interested in finding a wife. One sunny afternoon, Emenike came to visit Emenike and Oni. She brought a basket of fresh vegetables from the village and a big smile on her face. Emenike, my son, how are you? She asked, giving him a warm hug. I'm fine, Mama. It's good to see you. Emenike replied, smiling. And how is my beautiful granddaughter, Oni? She asked, turning to Oni. I'm doing well, Grandma. It's always nice to see you, Oni said, hugging her grandmother. They sat down in the living room, chatting and catching up on family news. After a while, Emenike brought up the topic that had been on her mind for a long time. Emenike, my son, we need to talk, she said seriously. Emenike looked at his mother, knowing what was coming. Yes, Mama, what is it? Emenike, you are in your late 30s now. It's time for you to settle down and get married. You need a wife to share your life with, she said. Mama, I know you are worried, but I am not ready for marriage. Emenike replied, looking away. Not ready, Emenike. You have been saying that for years. What are you waiting for? Emenike asked, her voice filled with concern. I don't know, Mama. I just feel like the time isn't right, Emenike said, trying to avoid the conversation. Emenike shook her head. Emenike, you are a good man. You deserve to be happy and to have a family of your own. Oni is grown up now. She's already in the university. You need someone to share your life with. Emenike sighed. Mama, I am happy with Oni. She is my family. Yes, Oni is wonderful, but she's not a replacement for a wife. You need a partner, someone to be with in good times and bad. Emenike insisted. Oni, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. Papa, Grandma is right. I want to see you happy too. You have done so much for me. You deserve to have someone to love and take care of you. Emenike looked at Oni, feeling touched by her words. Thank you, Oni, but I just don't feel ready for that step. Emenike placed her hand on Emenike's shoulder. Emenike, sometimes You have to take a leap of faith. Life is short, and you deserve to be happy. Emenike nodded, but he still felt unsure. He loved his mother and only dearly, but the thought of marriage made him uneasy. He didn't want to rush into anything and end up making a mistake. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Every time Emenike visited, she would bring up the topic of marriage, and each time, Emenike would come up with an excuse to avoid the conversation. At a point, Oni decided to take matters into her own hands. She loved her father and wanted to see him happy and settled. She knew how much he had sacrificed for her, and she believed that he deserved to have a partner to share his life with. So, Oni started getting women to go on dates with Emenike, hoping that he would find someone special. The first woman Oni introduced to Emenike was Adobe, a cheerful and kind-hearted lady. Oni invited her over for dinner, thinking that Emenike might like her. Papa, this is Adobe. She's a very nice person, and she makes delicious food. I thought you two might get along, Oni said, smiling. Adobe smiled warmly at Emenike. It's a pleasure to meet you, Emenike. Oni has told me so much about you. Emenike shook her hand politely. Nice to meet you too, Adobe. They all sat down to eat, and Adobe brought out a big cooler of jollof rice she had made. Emenike watched as she served generous portions to everyone, including herself. As they ate, Adobe chatted happily about her life and interest, but Emenike couldn't help but notice how much she ate. After Adobe left, Oni eagerly asked Emenike what he thought. Papa, isn't Adobe great? She's so kind and fun to be around. Emenike sighed. Oni, she's nice, but I don't think she's the one for me. She's too fat and she eats a lot. I don't think we are a good match. Oni frowned. Oh, Papa, you shouldn't judge her like that. She's a wonderful person. I know, Oni, but I just didn't feel a connection, Emenike replied. Not discouraged, Oni brought another lady to see Emenike. This time, it was Chinyere, a slender and elegant woman who worked as a teacher. Oni thought her father might appreciate Chinyere's grace and intelligence. Papa, this is Chinyere. She's a teacher and loves reading books just like you. I think you two would get along, Oni said. Chinyere greeted Emenike with a polite smile. It's nice to meet you, Emenike. Nice to meet you too, Chinyere, Emenike replied. They spent the evening talking and Chinyere shared stories about her students and her love for literature. Emenike listened politely, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. After Chinyere left, Oni asked again, Papa, what do you think of Chinyere? She's so smart and kind. Emenike shook his head. Oni, she's very nice, but she's too thin and dry. I didn't feel any spark between us. Oni sighed in frustration. Papa, you can't keep rejecting everyone like this. You need to give people a chance. I know, Oni, but I just don't think any of them are right for me, Emenike said. Oni didn't give up. She brought more and more women to meet Emenike, each one different from the last. There was Nkechi, who loved to dance and had a great sense of humor. There was Amaka, who was passionate about cooking and dreamed of opening her own restaurant. There was even Ifoma, who shared Emenike's love for gardening and spent the evening discussing different types of plants. But each time, Emenike found a reason to turn them down. Nkechi talks too much, he said. Amaka is too focused on her cooking, he complained. Ifoma is nice, but she's not my type, he concluded. Oni became tired and frustrated. She had tried everything she could think of, but her father was still single and unwilling to give anyone a chance. One evening, she decided to have a serious talk with him. Papa, I don't understand. I have introduced you to so many wonderful women, but you keep turning them down. Why won't you give them a chance? Oni asked, her voice filled with concern. Emenike sighed deeply. Oni, I appreciate everything you are doing, but I just don't feel ready for marriage. I am happy with our life as it is. Papa, you deserve to be happy. You have done so much for me, and I want to see you with someone who can make you happy too, Oni pleaded. I am happy, Oni. I love you, and that's enough for me, Emenike said gently. But Papa, you need a partner, someone to share your life with. Please, just try to find someone before your 40th birthday, Oni begged. Emenike shook his head. I don't need anyone else, Oni. I am fine the way I am. Please understand. Oni felt tears welling up in her eyes. Papa, I just want you to be happy. I want to see you with someone who loves you as much as I do. Emenike hugged her tightly. Oni, I love you more than anything in this world. You are my happiness. Maybe one day I'll find someone, but right now I am not ready. Please, trust me on this. Oni nodded, though her heart ached with worry. She knew her father was stubborn, but she also knew how much he loved her. She decided to respect his wishes, even though she didn't fully understand him. Oni decided to concentrate on her studies and let Emenike be for the meantime. She understood that her father was set in his ways, and she didn't want to push him further. Oni spent her weekends at the university, immersing herself in her studies and spending time with her friends. She enjoyed her classes and new experiences university life offered. However, she always made it a point to come home some weekends to spend time with Emenike. Their weekends were filled with laughter, cooking together, and sharing stories about their week. Emenike continued to visit regularly, always bringing a bounty of foodstuffs from the village. She loved her son and granddaughter dearly and wanted to ensure they were well taken care of. One day, she arrived with a special guest. She brought a lady named Mary, the daughter of a friend from their village. As soon as they entered the house, Emenike introduced Mary to Emenike. Emenike, this is Mary. She is a very nice woman and comes from a good family. I think you should consider marrying her. Emenike looked at Mary and then at his mother. Mama, I appreciate your concern, but I am not interested in getting married right now. Emenike frowned. Emenike, you can't keep living like this. Mary is a good woman. She can make you happy. I am happy, Mama. I have everything I need. Emenike replied firmly. But you need a wife, someone to share your life with. Emenike insisted. The argument escalated as Emenike pressed the issue. Why are you being so stubborn? Is it because of Onyinyechi? Is that why you refuse to marry? Because you picked her from the bush? Emenike was taken aback by his mother's words. He looked at her, shocked and hurt. Mama, how can you say such a thing? Onyinyechi is my daughter in every way that matters. Unknown to them, Oni was standing at the door, listening to their conversation. She had come home early from the university and was about to enter the living room when she heard her grandmother's words. Tears welled up in her eyes as she stepped into the room. Papa, is it true? Am I not your biological daughter? Oni asked, her voice trembling. Emenike turned to see Oni standing there, tears streaming down her face. Oni, listen to me. You are my daughter, and I love you more than anything in this world. But, am I really your daughter? Did you find me in the bush? Oni sobbed, her heart breaking. Emenike walked over to her, trying to calm her down. Oni, please, let's talk about this calmly. But Oni was too distraught. She pulled away from Emenike and ran to her room crying. Emenike turned to his mother, anger and pain in his eyes. Mama, look what you have done. How could you say such a thing in front of her? Emenike looked remorseful. I didn't mean to hurt her, Emenike. I just want you to be happy. This is not the way to do it, Mama. You need to leave now. Take Mary and leave before I return to the living room, Emenike said sternly. Emenike nodded, understanding the gravity of her mistake. She took Mary's hand and left the house quietly. Emenike stood there for a moment, trying to calm himself before going to Oni's room. He knocked gently on her door. Oni, can I come in? Go away, Papa. Oni's muffled voice came from inside. Please, Oni, let me explain. Emenike pleaded. After a moment, the door opened slightly. Emenike entered the room and saw Oni sitting on her bed, her face buried in her hands. Oni, I love you so much. You are my daughter, and nothing will ever change that. Emenike said softly, sitting next to her. Oni looked up, her eyes red and swollen. But why didn't you tell me the truth, Papa? Why did you keep it a secret and lie to me? I wanted to protect you, Oni. I didn't want you to feel different or unwanted. From the moment I found you, you became my everything. I didn't think it mattered where you came from, Emenike explained. But it does matter, Papa. I needed to know the truth, Oni said, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Oni. I should have told you sooner. You deserve to know the truth, Emenike said, holding her hand. Oni looked at him, searching his eyes for sincerity. Do you really love me, Papa? It's all my heart, Oni. You are my daughter, and I will always be here for you, Emenike said, hugging her tightly. Oni sobbed into his shoulder, feeling a mixture of pain and relief. She believed her father's words and knew that his love for her was genuine. After a while, they both calmed down, and Emenike spoke gently. Oni, I understand if you have more questions. I will answer everything you want to know. Why did you take me in, Papa? Why did you choose me? Oni asked, her voice still shaky. Because I felt a connection to you from the moment I found you. I knew that you were a gift from God, and I couldn't leave you alone in the bush. I wanted to give you a good life, and I'm so glad I did, Emenike explained. Oni nodded, feeling a sense of understanding. Thank you, Papa. Thank you for everything. I am the one who should be thanking you, Oni. You have brought so much joy and love into my life, Emenike said, smiling. They sat together for a while, holding each other and finding comfort in their bond. Despite the pain of the revelation, their love for each other remained strong. Later that evening, Emenike returned alone, looking remorseful. She approached Emenike and Oni, who were sitting in the living room. Emenike, my son. Oni, my granddaughter. I am so sorry for what I said. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just want the best for both of you, she said, her voice trembling. Emenike looked at his mother, his expression softening. Mama, I know you mean well, but you need to understand that Oni is my daughter. I will not tolerate anyone questioning that. I understand, Emenike. I will not bring it up again. I just want you to be happy, Emenike said, tears in her eyes. Oni stood up and hugged her grandmother. I know you love us, Grandma. Just please, let Papa make his own decisions. Emenike hugged her back, feeling the weight of her mistake. I promise, Oni, I will support whatever makes you both happy. The family spent the rest of the evening together, finding solace in their love and forgiveness. Though the journey had been difficult, they knew that their bond was unbreakable. One evening, Emenike decided it was time to fully open his heart to Oni. He went into her room, holding the bracelet that had her name and birth date on it. Oni looked up from her books, curious about what her father had in his hands. Papa, what's that? She asked. Emenike sat down beside her and handed her the bracelet. This is the bracelet you had on when I found you. Your name, Oninechi, and your birth date are written on it. I have kept it all these years as a reminder of the day you came into my life. Oni took the bracelet and looked at it closely, tears welling up in her eyes. Papa, thank you for showing me this. It means so much to me. Emenike hugged her tightly. Oni, I promise to always be the best father I can for you. You are my daughter, and I love you with all my heart. Oni embraced him, feeling a deep sense of happiness and relief. I love you too, Papa. Thank you for everything. Days passed, and life went on as usual. One evening, as Emenike was coming back from work, he noticed a car parked outside his estate. A young lady was trying to fix it. Looking frustrated, Emenike decided to stop and see if he could help. Hello, do you need some help? Emenike asked, approaching the young woman. The lady looked up, her face lighting up with hope. Yes, please. My car broke down, and I don't know what to do. Let me take a look, Emenike said. He checked the engine, and after some time, managed to get the car working again. The engine roared back to life. Thank you so much, the lady exclaimed, relief and gratitude in her voice. I was really stuck here. My name is Oluchi, by the way. Nice to meet you, Oluchi. I'm Emenike, he replied, smiling. They exchanged phone numbers, and Oluchi thanked him again before driving off. Over the next few days, Emenike and Oluchi started talking more often. They exchanged messages and phone calls, getting to know each other better. However, Emenike was careful not to share too much about his personal life, including his address. Oni noticed the changes in her father. He seemed happier, more relaxed, and often had a smile on his face when he checked his phone. She was happy to see him like this. One weekend, Emenike and Oni went to the store to get groceries. As they walked through the store, Emenike saw a familiar face. He turned and it was Oluchi. And Oluchi greeted them warmly. Emenike, it's so good to see you again. Hello, Oluchi. This is my daughter, Oni. Emenike said, introducing them. Nice to meet you, Oni. Oluchi said, smiling. The father has told me a lot about you. Nice to meet you too, Oluchi. Oni replied, feeling a sense of excitement, seeing her father engaging so well with someone. They chatted for a while, and Oni could see the ease and joy in her father's interactions with Oluchi. After finishing their shoppings, Emenike and Oni headed home. The drive was quiet at first. Both of them lost in their thoughts. Finally, Oni broke the silence. Papa, do you like her? Emenike glanced at her, surprised by the question. What do you mean, Oni? You seem really happy when you talk to her. Do you like her? Oni asked, her eyes full of curiosity. Emenike chuckled. We are just friends, Oni. She's a nice person, but that's all. Oni smiled mischievously. Papa, it looks more like love than friendship to me, oh. Emenike laughed heartily, the sound filling the car. You are quite the matchmaker, Oni. Oh really? We are just friends. Oni joined in the laughter, feeling a sense of joy and contentment. She was happy to see her father laughing and enjoying life. As the days went by, Emenike and Oluchi's friendship continued to grow. They often talked on the phone, sharing stories about their lives and dreams for the future. Oluchi would sometimes send him pictures of beautiful places she visited, and Emenike would share funny stories about his day. One evening, Emenike was sitting in the living room, smiling at a message from Oluchi. Oni walked in and saw the look on his face. Papa, you're smiling again. Is it Oluchi? She asked teasingly. Emenike nodded, unable to hide his happiness. Yes, it is. She just sent me a picture of a beautiful sunset she saw today. Oni sat down next to him. Papa, you really like her, don't you? Emenike sighed, looking thoughtful. Yes, Oni, I think I do. She makes me happy and enjoy talking to her. Oni's face lit up with a big smile. That's wonderful, Papa. You deserve to be happy. Thank you, Oni, but I'm still taking things slowly. I want to make sure it's right. Emenike said, feeling grateful for his daughter's support. One Saturday, Oni suggested they invite Oluchi over for dinner. Papa, why don't we invite Oluchi for dinner? It would be nice to spend more time with her. Emenike thought about it and agreed. That's a good idea, Oni. I will give her a call. That evening, Emenike called Oluchi and invited her over for dinner. She happily accepted the invitation and they planned for the following weekend. When the day arrived, Oni and Emenike prepared a delicious meal together. Oni was excited and wanted everything to be perfect. When Oluchi arrived, she was warmly welcomed into their home. Dinner smells amazing, Oluchi said, smiling as she entered the house. Thank you, Oluchi. We worked hard on it, Oni replied, beaming. They sat down to eat, and the evening was filled with laughter and lively conversation. Oni loved seeing her father so happy and relaxed. Emenike and Oluchi shared stories about their lives, and Oni felt a sense of hope for the future. After dinner, they sat in the living room enjoying dessert. Oni watched as her father and Oluchi chatted easily, feeling a warm sense of contentment. As the evening came to a close, Oni thanked them for the wonderful time. I had a lovely evening. Thank you both so much. It was a pleasure, Oluchi. We should do this again, Emenike said, smiling. Oni nodded in agreement. Yes, definitely. After Oluchi left, Emenike and Oni cleaned up the kitchen together. Oni couldn't help but bring up the topic again. Papa, I think you should give Oluchi a chance. She seemed really nice, and you look so happy with her. Oni said. Emenike looked thoughtful. You might be right, Oni. Maybe it's time I open up my heart a little more. Oni hugged her father tightly. I'm so proud of you, Papa. You deserve all the happiness in the world. Emenike smiled, feeling a sense of peace and hope. He knew that with Oni by his side, he could face any challenge and embrace the future with an open heart. Soon, Oluchi became a frequent visitor. She often came over to spend time with Emenike and Oni, fitting in well with their daily routines. One day, while Oni was at school, Oluchi decided to visit Emenike. They sat together in the living room, sipping tea and enjoying the quiet afternoon. Emenike, Oluchi began softly. I've been meaning to ask you something. I hope you don't mind. Of course, Oluchi. What is it? Emenike replied, setting his cup down. I have noticed that you never talked about Oni's mother. Why aren't you together anymore? Oluchi asked gently. Emenike took a deep breath, realizing it was time to share the truth. Oluchi, there is something you need to know about Oni's birth. She isn't my biological child. Oni's eyes widened in shock. What do you mean? Emenike began to narrate the story of how he found Oni. 18 years ago, I was walking along a path in my village when I heard the cry of a baby. I followed the sound and found a newborn baby in a basket, abandoned in the bush. She had a bracelet with her name, Onyinyechi, and a date of birth written on it. Oluchi's face turned pale, and she asked in a trembling voice, did this happen in your village? Yes, it did, Emenike confirmed. And did the baby have a bracelet with her name and birth date? Oluchi continued, her voice barely above a whisper. Yes, it did. Why do you ask? Emenike was now as surprised as Oluchi, wondering how she knew such specific details. Oluchi stood up, tears filling her eyes. Emenike, 18 years ago, I was raped by a man I loved, and then he disappeared. When I found out I was pregnant, my parents didn't believe me, and they sent me away from home. I was just 18. I was scared and alone. I went to live with a friend until I had the baby. Emenike listened intently, his heart pounding. Oluchi, are you seeing? Yes, Oluchi interrupted, tears streaming down her face. I was too young and afraid. I couldn't take care of the baby, so I left her in the bush, praying that a good Samaritan would find her and give her a better life. I named her Onyinyechi, hoping she would be a gift to someone. Emenike was dumbfounded, struggling to find the right words. Oluchi, I don't know what to say. I'm so sorry, Oluchi sobbed. I have been a terrible mother. I don't deserve any forgiveness. Emenike stood up, his mind racing. He wanted to comfort Oluchi but was overwhelmed by the revelation. Before he could say anything, Oluchi turned and ran out of the house, leaving Emenike standing there in shock. Emenike was lost in thought, his mind racing with the revelation Oluchi had just shared. He couldn't find answers or make sense of what had happened. When Oni returned back from school, she immediately noticed her father's distress. Papa, is everything okay? Oni asked, her voice full of concern. Emenike looked at her daughter, his eyes filled with pain. Oni, we need to talk. There is something important you need to know. Oni sat down next to him, her heart pounding. What is it, Papa? You are scaring me. Emenike took a deep breath and began to explain. Oni, remember how I told you I found you in the bush when you were a baby? Today, Oluchi came over and she told me something that changed everything. Oluchi is your biological mother. Oni's eyes widened in shock. What? How? I don't understand. She explained that 18 years ago, she was raped by the man she loved. When she became pregnant, her parents didn't believe her and sent her away. She was only 18, scared and alone. She couldn't take care of a baby, so she left you in the bush, hoping someone would find you. Emenike explained, his voice trembling. Oni felt a mix of emotions, shock, confusion and hurt. So, Oluchi is my mother. Yes, Oni, she is. But please understand, she was very young and scared. She made a difficult choice, hoping for the best for you. Emenike said, trying to comfort her. Oni couldn't face the truth. She felt betrayed and overwhelmed. I need some time to think, Papa. Emenike nodded, understanding her need for space. Take all the time you need, Oni. I'm here for you. Days passed, and Oni tried to avoid Oluchi. She couldn't bear to face her biological mother. Oluchi kept coming back, knocking on their door, but Emenike and Oni refused to open or talk to her. One day, when Oni was alone at home, there was a knock on the door. She hesitated, knowing it was Oluchi. She couldn't ignore her anymore. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door. Oluchi stood there with tears in her eyes the moment she saw Oni. She hugged her tightly. Thank you for opening the door, Oni. I'm so sorry for everything. Oni cried and buried her face in Oluchi's embrace. They stood there for a moment, both crying, before they sat down to talk. Why did you leave me? I don't understand. Oni asked, her voice breaking. I was so young, Oni. I was just a child myself. I made a terrible mistake, but I thought it was the only way to give you a chance at a better life. I prayed that someone kind would find you and take care of you. I'm so sorry. Oluchi explained, her heart aching. Oni took a deep breath. I understand now. It must have been so hard for you. But I have had a wonderful life with Papa. He took good care of me and gave me everything I needed. I am so grateful to Emenike. He did what I couldn't. He gave you a home and a family, Oluchi said, tears streaming down her face. I have forgiven you, Oluchi. It was a difficult decision for you, and you are just a child. Thank you for making that decision because it brought me to Papa and he gave me a better life. Oni said, her voice soft but firm. Oluchi hugged her again. Thank you, Oni. You don't know how much that means to me. As they talked, Oni realized that Emenike had been alone for so many years. Now that he had found love, she felt it was important to fix things. Papa has been alone for so long. Now that he found true love, I want to help make things right. When Emenike returned home, he saw Oluchi and Oni sitting together, his face darkened with anger. What is going on here? Oni and Oluchi stood up, both with pleading eyes. Papa, please, hear us out, Oni said. Emenike, I'm so sorry for everything. I never meant to hurt you or Oni. Please forgive me. Oluchi begged. Emenike looked at both of them, his anger slowly subsiding. I need time to process all of this. It's a lot to take in. Papa, we understand. But Oluchi and I have talked, and I have forgiven her. She was just a child back then, and she made a difficult decision. We want to move forward as a family. Oni said, her voice steady. Emenike sighed, feeling the weight of their words. I can't continue the relationship right now. I need time to think. Oluchi nodded, her heart heavy with sadness. I understand, Emenike. I will give you the time you need. Oni hugged her father tightly. Thank you, Papa. I know this is hard, but we can get through this together. Emenike looked at Oluchi and Oni, feeling a mix of emotions. He knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but he also knew that they had to face it together. He nodded, signaling his acceptance for now. As Oluchi left, Emenike sat down, his mind swelling with thoughts. He knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, one that would require patience, understanding, and love. With Oni by his side, he felt a glimmer of hope for the future. As time went by, Emenike started acting strange. He often stayed alone, staring at his phone, lost in thought. He thought about Oluchi constantly, but couldn't bring himself to reach out to her. The memories of their time together and her confession lingered in his mind, making it hard for him to focus on anything else. Oni noticed her father's change in behavior. She saw the pain and longing in his eyes and knew that he missed Oluchi. One evening, she decided to talk to him. Papa, you have been acting different lately. I know you miss Oluchi, Oni said gently, sitting next to him on the couch. Emenike sighed, putting his phone down. Oni, it's complicated. I do miss her, but I don't know how to move forward. Papa, sometimes we need to take a leap of faith. You love her, and she loves you. Don't let fear hold you back, Oni said, holding his hand. I don't want to get hurt again, Oni. Oh, you are right. I can't keep living like this, Emenike admitted. Let's go visit her, Papa. Let's talk to her and see where things go, Oni suggested with a hopeful smile. Emenike nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Alright, Oni, let's do it. After some time, Emenike and Oni decided to visit Oluchi. As they approached her home, Emenike's heart raced. He wasn't sure what to expect, but he knew he had to try. When they arrived, Oluchi was surprised to see them at her doorstep. Emenike, Oni, what a surprise, she exclaimed, her face lighting up with happiness. Hello, Oluchi, can we come in? Emenike asked, smiling nervously. Of course, please come in, Oluchi replied, stepping aside to let them enter. They sat down in the living room, and for a moment there was a silence. Then Emenike took a deep breath and began to speak. Oluchi, I have been thinking about you a lot. I realized how much I miss you and how much I have always loved you, Emenike confessed, his voice trembling. Oluchi's eyes filled with tears. Emenike, I have missed you too. I never stopped loving you. I was just so scared that you wouldn't want me after everything. Emenike reached out and took her hand. I love you, Oluchi. I had always loved you. I want us to be together. Oni watched them, her heart filling with joy. Papa, Mama, you both deserve to be happy. Let's put the past behind us and move forward together. Emenike and Oluchi embraced, tears streaming down their faces. I love you, Oluchi, Emenike whispered. I love you too, Emenike, Oluchi replied, holding him tightly. The three of them hugged, feeling a sense of unity and love. They made promises of love and togetherness, vowing to support each other no matter what. In the months that followed, Emenike and Oluchi's relationship blossomed. They spent more time together, growing closer and building a strong foundation for their future. Oni was thrilled to see her father so happy and in love. Eventually, Emenike and Oluchi decided to get married. The wedding was a beautiful celebration of love and family. Friends and family gathered to witness their union, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room as they exchanged their vows. I promise to love you and stand by you through everything, Emenike said, his eyes shining with tears. And I promise to love you and support you always, Oluchi replied, her voice filled with emotion. Oni stood by their side, feeling immense happiness and pride. This is the beginning of a wonderful new chapter for us all. After the wedding, Oni continued to excel in her studies. She graduated with flying colors, making her family incredibly proud. She decided to help manage her father's company, bringing new ideas and energy to the business. One evening, as they sat together in their cozy living room, Emenike looked around at his family with a heart full of gratitude. I'm so blessed to have both of you in my life. Thank you for being my strength and my joy. Oni smiled, holding her father's hand. We are a family, Papa. We always will be. Oluchi nodded, tears of happiness in her eyes. We have come a long way, and I'm so grateful for every moment. The story finally came to an end, with Emenike, Oni and Oluchi living happily ever after. They faced challenges together, supported each other through thick and thin, and built a life filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. And so, their journey continued, a testament to the power of love, forgiveness, and the bonds that make a family unbreakable. They knew that no matter what the future held, they would always have each other, and that was more than enough. This story teaches us that love and forgiveness are very powerful. Even when things are difficult and people make mistakes, forgiving each other can bring happiness and make families stronger. Emenike, Oni and Oluchi showed us that by loving and forgiving each other, they could live happily together. It's important to be kind, forgive others, and remember that family is about love and support.